Okay, here we are on the Chapter 6 review, Problem 1. Okay, I'm going to remind you of something here. I'm going to remind you that the integral from a to b of f of x dx equals capital F of b minus f of a, where capital F is an antiderivative of f, right? And I mean, we have to be able to take the integral of f, has to be continuous and those sorts of things. But now notice, capital S is an antiderivative. So does this make sense? F prime of x dx. Well, an antiderivative of f prime is just f of b minus f of a. Okay, so this is just a fundamental theorem of calculus. And how does this apply to our problem? Well, our problem, we have f prime of x, and I'm trying to figure out values for f of x. And this is how I get values for f of x. So I can do this. The integral from 0 to x of f prime of x equals f of x minus f of 0. Sorry for using the x's for both of these places. When I put an x up here, I really should call this t, so I'm actually going to change that for you guys here. F of t dt. Okay, so now the nice thing is I know what f of 0 is. This is f of x minus, they told us f of 0 over here is 2. So I can actually calculate f of x to be the integral from 0 to x of f prime of t dt plus 2. And this I can calculate for each value of x. So when x is equal to 1, for instance, that's this area right here. So that would be, so I'm going to make a little table here. So if x is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if x is 1, the integral from 0 to 1 is negative 1/2. Okay, so then f of x is going to be negative 1/2 plus 2, which is 1 1/2. At 2, this area is 1, and that's a half, so it'd be negative 1.5 plus 2, which would be 1/2. At 3, it's negative 1, negative 2.5. See what, are you following me here? Not that I can stop or change anything based on your answer, but hoping it makes sense. Okay, so just real quick, I'm finding this area by just calculating the area under the curve, because they're all little squares, or half of a square. So f of 4 is the area under the curve from 0 to 4, so it's a half. A half is 1, 2, 3. So it's negative 3 plus 2, it's negative 1. And then at 5, now this is a positive 1/2 area. Okay, so I'm going to have negative 1/2. 1, 2, 3. Negative 3 plus a half is negative 2.5. Plus 2, which is negative 1/2. And for 6, there's another 1. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, negative 3 plus 1.5, or negative 1 1/2, plus 2, which would be 1/2. Okay, barring any little mistakes there, here's my x coordinates, here's my f of x coordinates. So instead of writing that table, there they are. Okay, there you go on that one. I will go ahead and new video for next one.